Hello, and welcome to another episode in the Georgia Workers' Compensation video series. My name is Jason Perkins. I'm an attorney who specializes in handling Georgia workers' compensation cases. I created this series of videos to provide people who've been hurt at work in Georgia with helpful information about Georgia's workers' compensation laws and the benefits they should receive under those laws. Now, let's jump straight into today's topic. Today, I'd like to talk to you about, do judges or juries decide workers' compensation settlements? And before we talk about that, let's first talk about what a workers' compensation settlement is. A settlement of your workers' compensation case is a negotiated agreement to receive a lump sum amount of money in exchange for giving up future workers' compensation rights. Settlement of workers' compensation case is voluntary, so settlement's not anything that you ever have to do. Now, as far as whether judges or juries decide workers' compensation settlements, let's first talk about whether there are workers' compensation judges and workers' compensation juries in Georgia workers' compensation cases. So there are not juries in Georgia workers' compensation cases. In many areas of the law, a jury might make a decision about your case if you go to court, but workers' compensation in Georgia does not have juries. We do have workers' compensation judges. There are specific judges who decide workers' compensation cases, and they are workers' compensation specific judges. What I mean by that is they're specific to the Georgia workers' compensation system. So there's judges that make decisions at hearings or on motions. They're known as administrative law judges, and those judges will make a decision if you go to court about your case, or if you file a motion about your case. There's going to be an order written by a workers' compensation administrative law judge. There's also appeals judges in workers' compensation cases. There's the State Board of Workers' Compensation Appellate Division, which is composed of 3 judges who decide workers' compensation appeals. Now, do workers' compensation judges, whether the hearing judges or the appeals judges, make decisions about a workers' compensation settlement? Well, the answer to that is yes and no. So a judge in workers' compensation in Georgia does not make a decision about a settlement amount. So you can't go to court and get an order from a judge for the workers' compensation insurance company to pay a certain lump sum amount of money to settle your case. It's just not something that happens in a workers' compensation case in Georgia. In many areas of the law, you can do that. You can go to court and get a decision about the entire value of your case from a judge or a jury, but it doesn't happen in a Georgia workers' compensation case. Judges cannot order settlements, but judges do have to approve workers' compensation settlements. What does that mean? Well, that means that you and the insurance company can negotiate a settlement of your case, but that settlement does not become final until it is reviewed and approved by a Georgia workers' compensation judge. So in a Georgia workers' compensation case, you cannot settle your case without a judge's approval. So when I said that judges don't order settlements, the answer to that question is kind of yes and no. They don't order you to settle your case and can't decide the amount of your settlement, but they do have to approve a settlement in order for it to be final. Since a Georgia workers' compensation judge cannot order you or the insurance company to settle your case, this means settlement's voluntary. So how do you reach an agreement on settling your case? Well, it has to be by agreement of the parties. You or an attorney representing you and the insurance company will have to negotiate back and forth to agree on an amount of the settlement. If you don't agree on a settlement amount, then your case is not going to settle. This means you don't have to settle your case at all at any point if you don't want to, and you also don't have to settle your case for less money than you would want to. It also means the insurance company doesn't have to settle with you either, and they don't have to pay any more money than they would want to. So then how does settlement come about? Well, often with your workers' compensation case, there are many reasons that you might want to settle your case. You might just want to move on from workers' compensation, move on with your life and be done with it. And that can be a reason that settlement can make sense. Also, you may have bills that you need to catch up on or some other reason that you need to receive a lump sum amount of money. And that can be one of the other reasons that people often choose to settle their workers' compensation cases. Now, There's one thing that is very important to know if you are considering settling a workers' compensation case. Settlement of a Georgia workers' compensation case is final once it's been approved by a workers' compensation judge. That means it is almost impossible to undo. So it needs to be a very careful decision that's made about if you're going to settle your case and what amount you're going to settle your case for. Because of this, I always recommend that if you're considering settlement of the Georgia workers' compensation case, that you consult with a Georgia workers' compensation attorney to determine if now is a good time to settle your workers' compensation case and what amount you should be looking to settle your workers' compensation case for. I hope you found the information in this video helpful. If you have, please consider two things before you go. First, I'd really appreciate if you give this video a like or a thumbs up, and consider subscribing to this channel if you'd like to be notified of future videos in the Georgia Workers' Compensation video series. Second, if you've got workers' compensation questions, please reach out to get answers. I offer free consultations in Georgia workers' compensation cases. If you'd like to set one of those up, there's two easy ways you can do so. The first is by calling the phone number at the bottom of the screen, and the other is by reaching out to us to our website, which is www.perkinslawtalk.com. Just click on and submit the free consultation request form there, and a member of our team will reach out to you and get a consultation scheduled. I'd like to thank you again for watching this video today. I'd like to wish you the best of luck as you recover from your injuries.